the people who were steady putting this, well, telling me the same things over and over, get better, get better, get better. And I'm sitting here like, I can't. Do you know what's going through my head? Do you know what it feels like to be where I'm at in this bed?
Right.
Can you get this perspective? Nobody got it.
Now, you said something interesting. You were angry about how did you put yourself here in this position?
Yes.
Okay. So that says to me that on some level you take responsibility for the accident that happened, that occurred.
Yeah. Yeah, I do take responsibility. And it was something that surprised me because I've always been a more mature person than all my peers. Mm-hmm. And never once did I blame the guy who ran me over. Never once. I saw him in the future at graduation, and I told him, I don't have anything against you. I understand. It was an accident from what I hear. I can only go based off what I heard since I don't have memory. And I forgive you. It's all good. We can still be friends. But, he took it to heart. He couldn't look at me without breaking down crying. But I took responsibility. Whatever, he may have had some part to do with it, but I put myself in that position.
Now, I think that is powerful in regards that you're taking responsibility for your part in something. I believe and know on some levels that when we take responsibility, that gives us our power back. As opposed to just blaming others or just blaming others. Let me just say that. It doesn't matter what it is you're blaming if you're not taking any responsibility for any
the victim
situation.
Mentality.
Right. The victim
mentality. You can't
mentality.
get anywhere. You're giving away your power.
Right. I think healing has a hard time taking place if you're constantly in the mindset of being a victim. So that was leading to when you said that, I was like, ding, I love that. So I wanted to know your take on that. Why do you think it's significant to take responsibility for experiences that you've had?
I think it's evident. I mean, try both sides of the coin. Try living, and every time something happens to you, you blame something external to yourself. That means you have no control over your life.
We're going to pause right there on that, Jayson. Mm-hmm. We're going to come forward. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll go deeper into the taking responsibility and control and power over your life. You're listening to the Tybris Speak Show here on KJLZ Radio, where diversity finds its voice. If you would like to add to the topic or have any questions for Jayson, feel free to call in at 281-447-1114. We'll be back in a moment, right after these messages. And we're back here talking with Jayson. Jayson, I'm playing the Eminem song, I'm Not Afraid. That's one of my motivating songs. And hearing your story, it's talking about being knocked down and then coming back and basically saying, I'm not afraid to take the stage. You like that song?
Yeah, I mean, that song is actually, it resonated a lot with me when it came out. Especially Eminem being one of my inspirations when it comes to music, because I rap myself,
Oh, you do rap?
I rap before my accident, turned it into poetry during my recovery, and got back into it. But he played a big part in my relationship with words.
So going back, that I remember that going back to when you're rapping. I remember that, and we're gonna get into that because I want to know how your brain works from then until now. with that. Before the break, we was talking about taking responsibility and having control over your life and not being a victim. So come share some more experience about that when you begin to take responsibility, why you felt that was important, and what happened, what steps did you take?
Really, it came, they say seeing is believing, and that's what it took for me. For the longest time, for me, working in therapy, and every time I couldn't do something, I blamed it on either the therapist not seeing it from my point of view and helping me from my perspective, or I blame my body part not functioning correctly, when really I didn't start making progress until I started putting in more work. So instead of saying it's because my leg doesn't work the way it used to before, or instead of saying that this therapist is not seeing it from my point of view, I took on a warrior mentality and said, let me work harder. Let me push harder. Let me try. Nothing is going to work the same anymore. I just been through something major, so that's not an excuse.
Right.
I got to get rid of these excuses, and I got to make something happen, or I'm going to be this way forever, which is a reality I refuse to accept.
Right. So
and this applies to every aspect of my life. Relationships, and it's a universal thing, so it's not just me. Anyone listening right now can apply this concept to any part of their life and immediately see.
And just to clarify and make sure we understand what the concept is, what concept are you speaking about?
The concept is, don't blame anything external to yourself. Don't make excuses. Make it happen. Don't make excuses, make it happen. Don't blame everyone. Take responsibility yourself, and notice that you're creating your reality and whatever's going on.
That right there, I totally agree with. Take responsibility. I think responsibility has to do with our ability to respond. So we are response able. It's just that most of the time our ability to respond with that, even though we have that ability to respond, we respond on a negative way. And negative meaning just sad or heaviness. And I still want to clarify that even more, because sometimes sadness brings about clarity, which would make, that sadness good to me. But us being response able, just looking for something, life in a situation. And I think once we come to terms with, and it sounds like you did that when you came to terms with, by saying nothing is going to be the same anymore. So there's no need to keep crying over that.
Right.
Right.
Nothing is the same. It's like, a really good example is if I go back to even elementary, I would, if you're laughing in class or you get in trouble for it, and they ask you, why were you laughing in class? And you say, Johnny made me laugh. And the teacher or your parents' response is, no one can make you laugh. And that goes back to you blaming something external to you. No one can make you do anything you don't want to do. You took responsibility. You need to take responsibility. And you're the one who laughed. You chose to laugh.
Right. I said something the other day. I said the kids are making me do juju on the beat. And I had to really check myself with that, even though I left that as a status post. The kids are making me juju on the beat, but I definitely take responsibility for getting out there and for getting out there and jumping around. So I think that taking responsibility is critical for progress. So you begin to take responsibility for your role in it, and then begin to push yourself. Yeah. So you went from being in a wheelchair to what was next?
from the wheelchair, that's when I refused to accept the reality of a wheelchair because it's so limiting to the things that you can do.
Yes.
That I began to take major risk. And when I say that, I would literally be in bed. I had to work on transferring from the bed to the wheelchair alone.
Right.
But I took it a step further. I would try to actually walk. I don't recommend this to anyone listening that may be in a similar situation, but I would get up and try to take steps, even if it was just to the restroom. And sometimes they'll find me on the floor. Sometimes they'll find me in my chair. But I took steps, and eventually I got to a walking stick. So I was walking with the stick. That was my next level from the wheelchair. Right. And from there, I progressed to no stick and to where I am now, just a limp.
Yeah, just a limp, and you're walking on your own.
Exactly.
So was it the same way with talking?
Talking was a sort of different thing because I had tubes in my throat. So that was the first beginning stage. I had to take the tubes out for talking to even be a possibility. Afterwards was speech therapy, lots and lots of speech therapy, pronouncing words, putting sentences together, and increasing my vocabulary. Speech rate, I used to talk very, very slow. Mm-hmm. And all of that progressed with over time.
So the same thing applies in terms of embracing where you were, letting go of the fact that you weren't talking the same way.
It applies to every aspect.
Every aspect. So how was that, coming and knowing you had to learn to talk again and you were rapping before?
It was, I thought it would affect my rapping in a negative way. I thought it would be more difficult. I struggled a lot in the beginning because, like I said, I was talking at a much slower speech rate. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't stay on the beat. I couldn't rap fast like I used to. And even I go back some days, even to this day, and listen to some of my older songs because one of the first things I did when I got out of rehab was bought a microphone and some recording software.
Really?
Because I had so much built up inside me that I needed to express. Right. Poetry wasn't doing it anymore for me to a certain extent. I needed to go a step further and voice myself. It's just a different feeling when you're able to speak it, and it's almost like the breath is the negative feelings, and you're exhaling all the negativity, or everything that you're holding on inside. You're getting it outside of you. You're putting it out.
Putting it out there.
Right.
I didn't even realize there was a big difference in terms of just doing poetry and rapping. I like how you just said that when you said the poetry just wasn't doing it for you, I'm thinking to myself, was it too soft,
In a way it was, because my rapping was a bit edgy at first. Had some anger in there I had to get out. Poetry, writing down the words doesn't have the same effect as when you say it. You can write a letter to someone saying, I hate you, and they're going to perceive it in their mind, maybe soft, like, I hate you. But if you say it, they can feel it. It hits hard. It hits hard.
Right.
The tonality.
I like that. So you notice the difference. So where are you now? Do you hear progression in your rapping style now from the beginning when you first started back doing it?
I do.
On beat?
I do. Are you now? It's more, my first project that I made after I started rapping again was very inspirational. Now I'm leaning towards just being free with anything I want to say and not limiting myself to just being inspirational. It still has that flavor to it because it comes out in my lyrics. It's almost like an unconscious thing
Right.
that every time I get up and speak or every time I record a song, there's a hint of inspiration. So in a sense, inspiration has become a part of me and it's something I can't escape. So no matter what I do, somebody's going to find inspiration. They can see me driving a go-kart and will find inspiration in it. I don't know what it is, but somehow, some way, somebody will get inspired from me driving a go-kart.
Well, yes. You know, people love to see stories of triumph, you know, and yes, you are a walking inspiration. And as we are sitting here talking, I'm thinking about some of the things that you said you had to let go of, like walking regular or talking regular, and I'm using regular in quotes
Right.
because it's a new day, new season now. Um, what is regular for you is regular for you. Different,
Right.
you define that, right? And looking at you now, knowing that you once couldn't walk, but now you're walking. You couldn't talk, and now you're talking. Your rapping was one way, and you didn't think you would be able to even rap on the beat, and now you're rapping. So, do you see or even feel as though you were gaining things back what you first felt like you had lost?
That's and it also kind of backtracked to something else you just said about what I had to release,
Right.
and I had to release the concept of who I was before because as long as I was comparing myself to who I was before or comparing myself to other people that I saw out there and what they were doing, I was holding myself back. And I think we all do that to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, whether quote unquote normal or not, the guy with $10,000 is comparing himself to the guy with $100,000. The guy with $100,000 is comparing himself to the millionaire, and it just goes on and on. You got to break that cycle
Right.
if you want to progress. So, as far as the question you asked me, do I see myself, progressing as far as who I used to be? I don't even look at who I used to be anymore. I look at the raw potential of what I can be from where I am right
Right.
now. It's all about that raw potential because comparing yourself is limited. Everything is so
Right.
limited nowadays. I believe in pure raw potential. This is something that I learned from a mentor of mine that I met along my journey of recovery. It's about the void, just nothing. For anything to be created, it must start with a void. They think a plant starts with a seed or a tree grows. You first got to have a seed. The seed can't even be there without the void. You got to have the void first. And that is something that really sprouted my growth and propelled me forward.
So that the void, that's like a rebirth. So basically being born again.
Yes, a rebirth. Rebirth is a big part. I feel like I'm reminded of my rebirth every year on May 22nd, which is the date where my incident, well, I don't even want to say my because it's the
The
accident occurred,
Right.
and that signals a rebirth. I was reborn during this process maybe two or three times. Once physically, once mentally. Okay, so yeah, maybe two times. I had a physical rebirth and a mental rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And my last rebirth, which was the mental one, is responsible for the person that I am today.
I love it. Do you ever have people just come up to you and say, and actually tell you you're an inspiration to them? Was that uncomfortable if that happened to you?
It has happened on a few occasions. I can't recall any specific times, but it happens a lot. Oh, okay, here you go. I recently joined Toastmasters, and my first
Kudos.
speech that I gave was named Rebirth. And I went over my physical rebirth and my mental rebirth being responsible for who I am today. And after I gave that speech, and let me remind you that when I made this speech, I knew it would be powerful, not because of something logical, but it was a feeling inside me because I put myself on the line in that speech. I was telling them who I am.
Right.
And there was no doubt that I had no doubt in my mind that would be a powerful speech. And almost everyone in that room in Toastmasters came up to me and told me how much of an inspiration I was, how impressed they were, how they didn't expect me to come, with that kind of emotion, or they just didn't expect that from me.
Well, we will continue to talk about that, you being an inspiration, right after this break. Y'all listening to the Tybris Speak Show on KJLZradio.com, where the station where diversity finds its voice. We'll be back after the break. Hello. And we're back talking with Jayson, the Miraclekidd. Hello, Jayson.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
I saw you rapping. Is that one of your favorites right there?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, Eminem has always been my inspiration since elementary school. He's came a long way. I followed the complete journey. I had a thing for word. He showed me how to use words and manipulate them to get a message out, and use them in such a powerful way that it almost shocks people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was playing that, that's one of my songs that I have in a playlist, a motivation playlist for myself. That song, One Shot, One Opportunity to Seize. One shot, I don't know the words word for word.
Everything you ever wanted.
To seize everything you ever wanted. So, and I thought it was significant that he mentioned about losing yourself. That goes in line to me with what you were saying earlier about forgetting the things that you once knew and embracing really where you are now, changing your mindset from in no comparison. I received that. I'm so glad you said that. I received that for myself. There's no comparison, even within your past self and your new self. It's just your present self now.
That's the only thing that there is, the present moment. If you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about it in the present moment. If you're thinking about your past, you're thinking about it in the present moment.
Did y'all catch that? He said, if you're thinking about your future, you're thinking about it in the present moment. That's a shout right there. Nugget for me. Thank you. Wisdom speaks. Wisdom speaks. Now, you said that you are getting used to the fact of being an inspiration. You know that just by who you are right now, that inspiration is all through you and it's going to come out through you. How do you feel about that? How do you feel knowing that you are a walking inspiration? Do you have any feelings about that?
It's kind of just what it is, I don't see myself as an inspiration. I know that I am, but it's not something that I identify myself with. It's just something that I know because of both internally and externally. I mean, when it's coming at you on a regular basis from external, you can't ignore it. For the longest time, I was so humbled about what I've done and what I've accomplished that it seemed like nothing to me.
Right.
I had to be reminded by people when I tell them my story. Still to this day, Tybris, people ask me, what happened to you? And it's gotten to a point now where I brace myself for the reaction that they're going to give me, because it ranges anywhere on a scale from zero is probably, I've never had anyone just listen and not like just shrug it off like, okay.
Right. That wasn't anything. Okay.
Never.
Right.
Not once. It can range anywhere from someone just telling me and giving minimal gestures physically that they were hit by it, to somebody. I had an experience with like this 80-year-old woman. I told her what happened to me and she cursed. Like, she was like, holy bleep. I know I can't curse, but she was like, holy. And I wanted to bust out laughing, but I mean, that's the range of the different effects that I get from people. So every time I tell it, it reminds me that I didn't just do something mundane.
Right.
I didn't just do something that average Joe Schmo can do, even though I was looking at it that way.
Right.
So I'm constantly reminded that I did something great. I did something supernatural.
And do you think that we all can do that?
I do. I did a video blog last year sometime, and this is one of the biggest realizations to me. What I said in that vlog was, everyone looks at me like I'm superhuman. They look at me and see what I went through, and they tell me, wow, man, if that was me, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I would just give up. Not true. Not true. Anybody put in that situation, you don't know what you can do until you're put in a situation where it's absolutely necessary and you don't have a choice but to get through it. You have to do it.
Right.
Because there's no other choice. I think if any human being put in that situation, they could do the same thing that I did. Maybe not to the same extent. There's variables that go along with it, but yeah, in a nutshell, I believe anybody can do it.
I'm with you on that. We have a tendency, again, to compare ourselves to others and say, oh, man, I'm looking at you. I don't think I can do that. But I truly believe that we all have the power and the inner strength to do what it is that we need to do for ourselves. For in any given situation, we are very strong people. We're very strong people. Well, you are a walking inspiration, and that leads me to, we have a segment, appreciation segment, where we just focus on what it is that we're appreciative for. I think too often we speak a lot about what we don't want, what we don't want, what we don't want, you know, and we don't talk a lot about what we do want or what it is that we're grateful for. So here on the Tybris Speak Show, we take a whole moment just to say thank you and what we're appreciative for. Okay. And so we're going into that segment now. So be ready to share what you're appreciative for. What does your heart love? What does your heart love? So this segment of appreciation is being brought to you by allaboutautos290.com for your collision and mechanical repairs. So if you have any need to get your car fixed, go ahead and visit them, allaboutautos290.com. Jayson, the Miracle Kid. What are you appreciative for right now at this moment?
I think a much shorter answer would you would have to reshape the question and ask me what am I not thankful for?
Oh,
What am I not appreciative of or
but we
for?
don't we don't we don't do the knots though.
Well,
So
that's if you wanted a shorter answer. Then that would be the question to
well,
ask.
just go ahead and give what it is, because if you can think of more than one, that is wonderful. Just go ahead and just put the flood. What are you appreciative for?
I'm appreciative of my mindset that I worked on so hard that made the difference between me being who I am, being I do consider myself successful, and me being able to see and have the vision that I have of just knowing the potential of what can happen and not being caught up in the worldly finite things in the world, you know. I'm appreciative of my family. I'm appreciative of you, Tybris, for bringing me to the show today. I mean, the list can go on and on and on.
There's so many things that we could have tapped on. Ours is so short, right? In terms of the fullness of your story. So I know that you are sharing things online. Where can people find you online, your social medias and things of that nature, to hear some more? Because I know we have a book coming soon. That's heads
In the
up.
works.
In the works. I know
for
it.
better or worse.
So where can you be found?
The most effective way to get in touch with me will be my Facebook. You can look me up on Facebook at Jayson the Miraclekidd Phillips. I'll spell it out because my name is spelled different. It's Jayson. Middle name would be Miraclekidd, Miraclekidd. Last name Phillips, Phillips.
Phillips are the same. Y'all make sure you go and follow him, because he gives more details of his story. It's snippets. He's putting himself out there little by little, and I'm appreciative that you agreed to come and talk. And we will talk again, because I love the progress that you've made from beginning to where you are now. It's nowhere near the end. I think it's just gonna keep on going.
Still going.
Yeah,
It'll
it's
never
a
stop.
continual journey. So I'm taking from what you shared today, if there's been some type of life situation where you go to sleep one way and you wake up totally different, that one of the ways to help in progression is to don't compare your new self to your old self. Y'all, these are keys that Jayson has learned. He's sharing with us for, being really happy and free, as he said. He's more appreciative of things now. He has more things to be thankful for than things not. I think that is great. So no comparison. Something else that he shared with us is take control, by taking responsibility for the role that you played in whatever situation that came up. And it's something as simple as, and this one is a hard one, because many times we do like to blame others and for everything, just to get it off of ourselves. But if any situation that you're involved in it somehow. So you must take responsibility for your role. It doesn't mean taking responsibility for the whole event, but you need to take responsibility for your role of being there. And that's just making sure you recognize that you are response able. You can go back into the situation and actually come up with something good. Forgive yourself for whatever it is, and we can go deeper on that, right, Jayson? That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole another topic.
That's
in
a
itself.
whole other topic. But know that you have the ability to respond in every situation, and you must take responsibility. And I think those are two great points that you shared with us today, Jayson. I receive it. I receive that big time.
Receive it all.
I receive
Receive
it
it
big
all.
time. Is our walks and our journeys are not in vain. Um, so thank you, Jayson, for being here. Thank you, listeners of KJLZ Radio, for listening to the Tybris Speak Show. I am here every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. talking with real people doing real things. It's all about love, love God, love yourself so that you can love your neighbor, love yourself. So until next time, y'all continue to be joyful, find something to be appreciative for, and remember to continue to spread love always. I will talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.